Does that result, the way it happened at the weekend, does that sort of give everyone a lift?
I think in the cool light of day, yeah, obviously when I calmed down and I was really frustrated, same as the players and everybody at the football club, that we found ourselves in the position that we did. I think when you get into that position, with 8 minutes to go or whatever it was, 9 minutes to go, if somebody had offered me 3-3, of course I'm going to take it, and it probably feels in the end like a better point for us than it does for Ross County. But that said, we're not going to just kind of sit and rest on our laurels and say, oh, fantastic point, let's move on, because there's so many elements for me, both attacking and defensively, that we need to be better in, we need to improve on. Contrary maybe some of what's said, there was stages in the first half and at the start of the second half where I felt as if it was 0-0. You're trying to get to that place in the game where you can make your couple of tweaks and your couple of changes, and I probably at that point seen Ross County with a couple of counter attacks in the second half. I didn't see any great control, and once they started once they scored that first goal, second goal, obviously it changes the complexity of the game. It gives us a completely different way of thinking, and that's probably my frustration again, that just we allow the game to get to that stage. I've watched it back, I've spent a lot of time analysing it, and there's several aspects that we can be better in. I acknowledge a good finish for Brophy, I acknowledge a good finish for Simon Murray, but they're very, very avoidable from our point of view, and I always go back to this strict sort of structure that we work under, and there's a couple of aspects in both goals that we feel as if we're set where we want to be. I said it after the game, we've been in those positions thousands of times since I came in February. A lot of people have given us great credit for how we play with our organisation then, so I just don't want that side of it creeping in, if I'm being honest. But the personality and the character of the players is fantastic. The reaction that we got was excellent. You tried to make substitutes to impact games, and I think it's safe to say that all three goal scorers were able to do that, not just by the goal, but bringing that wee bit more impetus and that wee bit more energy to our team, and giving us that bigger threat in the front foot. But going into Aberdeen, I think that we undoubtedly have to be better against the ball.
Is the biggest thing you can take, though, as you mentioned, that personality and the character from everyone in those last few moments, to just keep on going, and that willingness to get that point? Yeah,
it's an excellent trait to have as a football club, and I'm pretty proud of that, to be honest. I don't know what the stats are. I suppose I could probably go and have a wee look at that, but we've scored a lot of goals, 90 plus minutes, or sort of 87, 89 minutes, and I think that's a brilliant trait to have as a football club. I think it shows you that, one, the energy levels are there, but I think that just that raw determination we speak about, to be a Motherwell player in my mind, to have a real enthusiasm to play for this football club, and a determination to try and get something out of the game, maybe when you've not been at your best, maybe when you've found yourself up against it. I think it's a thing that gives me a great deal of pride, but also gives you a great deal of hope when you find yourself in tough spots, which you're going to in this league at times. So again, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that's something that's pretty much been there since I came in February, and we certainly hope that we have that moving forward. But I don't want to find myself in that position all too often either, because it becomes really difficult to chase, rather than being in a position of control and having something yourself to hold on to.
Aberdeen not really in the best spot at the moment. What are you making of them under Barry?
I think Barry's obviously got his job at Aberdeen. I've not faced Aberdeen since I came into the football club. I think that's the first one in the Premiership that I've not faced. So that becomes a little bit different group of players. I'd heard Barry's interview after the game yesterday. I watched the game, I listened to stuff afterwards, and I think he referenced about coming here and winning on Wednesday. So quite clearly Aberdeen are a much bigger football club, if you like, with far greater resources than what we've got. So they obviously expect that they're going to come here on Wednesday and win the game. I think he said about winning here and taking them into a semi-final. So we just have to put ourselves in a position where we acknowledge that the expectation is that they will come here and they will win the game. But I just think that we've had a number of performances here at home, especially where it would suggest that it's going to be a difficult place for them to come, and that we're very, very competitive. And by getting that point and hopefully breaking a bit of a cycle for ourselves, then surely we will be going in there with a bit of confidence, and I think we will. We've got an honest group of players with a lot of boys that were disappointed with individual decisions and individual performances in stages of the game on Saturday, and I think what I've always seen is a pretty decent reaction from them. So I would expect that from us. and then we just have to make sure that whatever we do, we feel sort of lines up with what Aberdeen's strengths and weaknesses are. As always, we'll plan that, we'll come up with a game plan, and fingers crossed it takes us into this stretch, the next 4 games, playing the next couple of midweeks. Fingers crossed it takes us in with a positive performance, and then hopefully for us, if we can get it right, hopefully it takes us in with a positive result.
Is that the big thing, to make sure that if there is that expectation or hope from Aberdeen that they're going to come here and win the game, that you guys are going to make sure it's nowhere near as straightforward as that?
Yeah, I think we do that with everybody. You know, I think we always give our opposition, our opponent, and I think I have been really consistent. I think we are as a football club. I think we're always very, very respectful. I acknowledge that Aberdeen have some serious quality. You know, whatever it was, 14 players, large amount of investment that's went into the football club. They've got a good side. They've got a good group of players. They really have. I watched their European game during the week, and I thought again, only my opinion, I thought Barry had got his tactics spot on, and I get that they lose the game 3-2, but they're playing against a real high level opposition, and they put themselves in an excellent spot in that game. And there was lots that I looked at, and you know, you see some real good performances, some real good organisation from them. So again, we're always respectful to who we play against, but that doesn't mean to say that we don't have a belief in ourselves. You know, I've spoke about recent games against the likes of Rangers and Celtic, the big clubs in this country, and I think we've went into those games believing that we can take something. So this doesn't become any different, but again, I'm always mindful and very respectful of the opposition, and realising they've got lots and lots of good quality, and probably a lot of changes they can make as well with the size of their squad and the quality they've got as well. So just about us being as well prepared and as braced for that challenge as we possibly can, and it's my intention, it'll be the players' intention, to give them a real tough night when they come here on Wednesday.
Sure, is that a challenge for your players now, to having the end of that run, to go on a unbeaten run yourself?
Yeah, and listen, I think we've enjoyed some real good spells, haven't we, in terms of results and performances for quite a few months now. The challenge came that we've lost four games straight, and you know, I'll not bore you again by going into how we felt we played in those games, but ultimately lost 4 games. So scoring in the 93rd minute, 94th minute on Saturday, I hope is then that little bit that breaks the cycle of losing games of football, and hopefully it teases up to what's going to. Listen, it's going to be a real challenge over the next couple of weeks. Of course it is, but I just feel that trying to build a little bit of momentum, whether you've got a bit of ring rust or whatever, no an excuse, but you're 3 weeks without a game. I said that wasn't a factor, and it's not. But I just feel that when players get into that rhythm of playing games of football, they become better. They themselves will tell you that they start to become a wee bit sharper, not just physically, but sometimes mentally, seeing pictures, seeing patterns, identifying danger. And I sincerely hope that in this stretch of games, then I feel that our levels hopefully can go up once we're given that opportunity just to keep sort of banging out games.
And when you're in that top 6 position, you want to maintain that?
Yeah, I think again, you know, the league table is something now that's still, in my opinion, in its infancy. I think our biggest focus is on just trying to amass as many points as we possibly can, without kind of shouting off the odds of what games we're going to win, or you know, where that's going to take us and where that's going to put us. I think very much so we just have to focus on what the demands are of the next game, which for us obviously is Aberdeen. So listen, we don't find ourselves in a terrible spot in the league, but I think having had a wee glance at it, I think probably for the first time, as I did over the weekend there, it's very tight, isn't it? It's really, really tight. You look at obviously the bottom of the table, St Johnstone maybe find themselves cut adrift slightly from the rest of the pack, but then you look at your Ross Counties, your Livingstons, and any number of teams, Aberdeen, and there's a point or two separating us all. So we just want to make sure that 1, we stay in that pack, but 2, we would love to go and try and put a bit of win and run together, that maybe puts a wee shine to what that picture looks like in the league table. And it's going to be hell of a hard to do that. It's going to be some real hard work to get there, and there's going to be some major tests to try and do it. But the first opportunity to improve the situation comes on Wednesday, and we try and broach it the best way we possibly can.
You've obviously gone from a situation where you're trying to keep the guys sharp without playing for 3 weeks to now playing all the time, just trying to keep them fresh maybe as well. Is it a completely different scenario for you, just to do the training and stuff, wind it down a wee bit, just to make sure it's just a focused in the game.
Yeah, exactly that. Just to top up now for us, most of it, in my opinion, becomes information. It becomes almost walking through preparation, making sure that we're still spending time on the pitch, but probably just reducing the intensity levels that we'll work at. Several meetings in the video room, whether it be pre-post match, to make sure that everybody's up to speed and they've got all the information that we have. But also just try to top up the one or two that maybe haven't been playing as much game time, as well as the guys that are coming back into the squad. We've spoke a lot about the guys that are coming back to fitness and how important they can be for us. And probably again, I need to stress this, is about managing expectation. I understand that people will sit and be calling for various players to be put on the park and all that. I'll always stand by the work that I do with myself, the staff, and especially I reference the likes of the medical staff, because we kind of know what the fitness levels are of these players. We understand how much game time they can play. We understand that we've got 4 games coming in this next stretch, so try to manage and pick and choose the right moments in which you can get guys on the pitch, and not risk injury again, because I keep speaking about this, I'll say it again. It's not just getting people back from injury, it's keeping them in your group and making sure that you're not exposing them to silly situations where you end up losing them for a long period of time. Again, we want these guys back into the group. I'm delighted to have the ones that we've spoke about over the last week or so back in the group. They help us, they give us more options, but I don't want it to be at the detriment of the kind of long-term plan of what they'll be doing at this football club and how they can help us for a stretch. So as always, I'll try and be as methodical as I possibly can be. This sort of caveman mindset of I'm not caring and I'm just going to start throwing people on and going off script and throwing people on the pitch, it's not going to work. It's not where the game's at anymore. And I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, but again, you have to be thoughtful and you have to be measured in your approach when you face those situations. So yeah, just getting the balance right in all those factors, I think not only helps us on Wednesday, but I think it helps us in the coming weeks.
Sure, some fans will be wanting to make a Biereth on the park as soon as possible. They might even be tempted to put money on it, but it sounds like you're kind of set. Do you go into a game knowing that this is the maximum amount of minutes you can play, is that sort of thing?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. That was discussed. We had plenty of conversation with Arsenal, have worked through the last 2 months, just over 2 months with rehab. Our guys here I keep speaking about are excellent at what they do. Conversation with the player having an understanding of how many minutes he's capable of, not just on Saturday, but how that'll impact, say, Wednesday and the following Saturday. So we're well up to speed with that. Again, I'm not trying to vindicate myself or justify myself to anybody. I do believe that I'm pretty meticulous in the communication there and the understanding of where these players are. So again, it's important, as I've said already, that it's not just about this Wednesday, it's about how we can try and get guys back into the group and keep them there. Which I believe helps us long term, rather than for maybe just 190 minutes, for just 60 minutes in one game of football. It's a bigger picture for me rather than just that one game. So we're working away with that. The players themselves understand it, they know it. I'm sure that they would be the first ones to stick their hand up and say they know where they are in terms of levels of fitness, and we'll keep working to that plan. We'll keep trying to push it as much as we possibly can with our game time, but as I say, the last thing I would want is sitting here in front of any of you guys because we had been really naive in our thinking or decision making that hampers or hurts one of the guys that's coming back for longer term injury.
Barry Robson took responsibility for the loss yesterday. He said he should freshen the team up a bit more. Are you expecting more changes from Aberdeen this week, and how do you think that will impact the game as well? It's hard to
say. I think off the back of those comments, and I heard those comments myself, I think that would suggest that there probably will be changes to our team. I think when you look at where we were a few weeks ago with I keep speaking about, I think 7-8 teenagers involved in a squad, then you can be really limited in how many changes and how many things you can freshen up. It's not any disrespect to the young lads, it's where you are and where you're ready. I'm kind of looking at that Aberdeen squad and suggesting that there's any number of changes they can make with guys that are sitting on the bench, potentially guys that maybe not even selected for the squad. So based on those comments, I would imagine that Barry will look to make some changes on Wednesday. But again, we try and keep ourselves well versed on a sort of plan A, plan B, what we've seen over Aberdeen since the start of the season, and try and give the players as much as we possibly can. And we'll not know till about an hour and a half, I think, before kick-off exactly what his team selection is. But I think we really have to concentrate on what our version is going to be and what we're going to set up as, and try and be at the absolute peak of that, because I think that gives us a chance in any game, and then you start to dissect what the team selection is for the opposition.
Can I just get your reaction to the news that Stephen McLean's no longer St Johnstone manager as well?
Yeah, obviously we always get asked this question, and you know, I'm gutted again that there's another manager, and that's not just empty words that's lost his job. I've spent quite a bit of time recently sitting at games of football with Stephen. I didn't particularly know him, but we seem to keep turning up at the same games, and you know, he was a guy I actually really enjoyed his company, sitting speaking about football. We were at a couple of youth games together, sitting at youth games talking about younger players, you know, first team stuff. So it's disappointing to see another young manager lose his job. Of course it is. Stephen probably be the first guy to tell you that he knows it's a results driven business. I could see that he was up after the game on Saturday. He was disappointed, but I think you kind of look beyond just I'm coming in for this last few months as the manager. You kind of look at himself and Liam Craig and their connection with the football club, and I think that always means something to me, for somebody that spent a long time at a football club. And I would just like to think that they'll be acknowledged for the work that they've done over a long period of time, and probably club legends. It's fair to say that they two guys are at St Johnstone, and I sincerely hope they get a wee bit of respect for having been that. And I dare say, again, I don't know Stephen that well. I've got to know him a little bit in recent weeks. I dare say that he'll be the first guy to start to analyse where things maybe went wrong, what he done well, and I've probably no doubt, kind of having come across these two guys, that they are good coaches, and through time they will get another opportunity to get back in and probably do the job that they had their mind set on, and potentially things fall in their favour a little bit more moving forward. So yeah, gutted to see that that's the case again, but I'm sure both guys will pick each other up and go again.
Is it quite worrying that we're not even in November yet and that's 25% of the league's managers gone already? No,
it's not worrying. I think it's just, again, I reference it, it's just football, isn't it? I keep speaking about it being the most knee-jerk sport in the world in terms of, you know, one bad 5 minutes in a game of football, people are calling for your heads, you know, a bad half of football and everybody wants you gone and all the rest of it. Just think that we have to have thick skin, and you know, again, if you're asking me, I know what I signed up for. I get it. I'll take criticism where I get things wrong, and I'm a human being as well. I get plenty of things wrong, but I just think that there has to be a little bit more measure on, you know, people's thinking and knee-jerk reactions, shouts and abuse and all that type of stuff. You know, we're all trying here. I don't know a manager, a player, a coach, or anybody that comes into their work of a day and just kind of goes through the motions and hopes for the best. We don't. Everybody's trying to give their absolute all. Everybody's trying to make the decisions that best fit your football club. But again, I go back to it, and I reference back to, we know it is the most knee-jerk business in the world, and as such, I think anybody that signs himself up to it and, you know, is surprised by this is a little bit naive. So I think everybody understands it, and all you can do is try and perform well and win games of football, and that generally keeps it on an even keel.
Team-wise, there's no other issues?
No other changes team-wise, no.